Okay, one of the things I want to talk about here in this video is lighting on your UTV. You know, you just bought it, spent a lot of money, a lot of hard-earned money. You want to start using it. Like I said, I bought the base model. Didn't give much thought to lighting. I've been using it around quite a bit. Then I got my wooded trail and I noticed that lighting was not adequate enough. It's hard to see branches and things like that, so I thought about going the cheap route and upgrading the bulbs, the stock headlight bulbs to LEDs. And then I remembered on my tractor, I bought one of those eBay/Amazon light bars. I got a 20-inch light bar on my tractor, and I bought one for my dad's tractor that for $29 came with the light bar, the brackets, then the wiring harness, and shipping. And I've had those for, I don't know, 3-4 years now, and then price has gone up a bit now, but I was going to use one of those, and my roof that I got, my EMP Products roof, it's got a cutout on there for a 20-inch light bar. Unfortunately, the ones that I bought had L brackets, and they would not fit 20 inches. So I'll have to update on the information notes on the video on YouTube, the size. I want to say I got an 18-inch. It's really like 17-inch, and it has bottom mounting on there. And it was like $25 on eBay or Amazon. And then now the wiring harness kits, you got to buy them separately, but they're about $15, and they come with the rocker switch, all pre-wired. So all you need to do is run a wire to your ground, and then to the positive battery, and then to the lights. So what I did on this is I measured where I wanted to mount it. I drilled 2 holes for the mounting brackets through the plastic roof, and it's actually the factory metal. There's a cutout there, must be like a standard spot where you can see up on there for lights. And then I drilled another hole for the wire, and then Harbor Freight's a good place, but you can go eBay, Amazon, get rubber grommet kits. I found the correct size rubber grommet, pushed it into the hole so it would fit the wire tight, and then seal on there with water. And then I did the same thing for my bolt holes, just to seal it up a bit. I'm guaranteeing it's not 100% waterproof, but I mean, this thing has so many air gaps in the cab that it's not a big deal. This is just a little bit of a close-up of the light bar. Sorry about this, I'm hand holding this, but let me get the stick out of there. You can see how there's a little recessed area in there for this to fit in there. And then this is where I was talking about, I did the grommet for the wire to run through. And then it was this particular light, you had to adjust the angles before you put it in there, because it's kind of hard to adjust. So I did it a couple degrees, maybe 10 degrees aimed down, and it seems to work really good. So I haven't had any issues with that. And then I ran the switch through the dash, and actually the Polaris, mine has one or two spots, I think 3 total, but you have to cut some of them out. They're kind of blank for the toggle switches. And then I did that, and it works great. The one thing I did find out, a lot of these wiring kits that they give you, the switch itself lights up at night. So you need to do some kind of creative wiring. It has to go to ignition wiring, because if you don't do that, when you shut it off, your light on the toggle switch is still going to be lit up even when you take the key out. And the next morning your battery will be dead more than likely. So that's one of the things you need to do is, and I can show you how to do that on another segment. What I did is I bought a, more or less like a switch. What it is you run, there's a bus bar on here under the hood, and I'll show some video of that. But what it is, it's a factory bus bar, and it just has a couple little bolts. None of them are connected, but what it is, there's one wire that came from mine from the factory that was just a ignition hot switch. When you turn the key on the ignition, power goes to this wire. Very skinny little wire. And then the other one were just blank ones. So what I did, I bought 8-gauge wire on eBay or Amazon, really cheap, and nice connectors. I upgraded my battery to a lawnmower size battery, ran wire directly from the battery to this bus bar, and then the bus bar goes to the winch, goes, it was going to go to the lights, but now I noticed that they always stay on because of these rocker switches that light up. So now I bought this new thing, and I'll have to do another video segment on that. But what it is you run the ignition little skinny wire to this piece, and then you run your heavy 8-gauge wire to this. And what it'll do is it doesn't let the 8-gauge wire go to your accessories until the ignition's turned on. So now I'm going to have 8-gauge from the battery to this piece, and then from that piece 8-gauge is going to go to the bus bar. And then the bus bar will only turn on now when the key is on. So now I'm going to have my lights wired to that, the winch wired to that, my heater wired to that, my roof strobe wired to that. This way I can never accidentally leave the lights on. But this light, I mean, it was like literally, like I said, all together with the wiring, everything, probably like 50 bucks. Greatest improvement ever. I'll have to get some video of it at nighttime. But yeah, it's, like I said, if you're willing to invest a little bit of time looking for bargains and doing it yourself, you can save so much money. Like I said, I've done most of the accessories. I've just not been in a hurry, saved up my money, and just bought things little by little. And eventually, it's not exactly what I want, but it's getting there. It does everything I need it to do. So, and the next thing I just purchased on, I want to believe Amazon or eBay, one of the two. They're always very similar. I bought little cube lights. They're about $15 a piece. And I bought the 2 cube lights. So they were 30 bucks for the 2. And then, actually, I take that back. It was $15 for 2 of them. So I actually got 4 of them. I bought 2 for this, and I'm going to put 2 on my tractor. I got sick of rotating the light on I had it on the ROPS canopy. I'm going to do a video on the tractor too, because it's pretty interesting and it's so helpful. But I'm going to put the little headache rack on the back of this. I'm going to put 2 lights back there. And I actually bought a switch for $15 with the wiring, very similar to the other one. My switch for this one, it actually has a little picture of a light bar, and it says light bar. The one I just purchased said work lights, and it has 2 little square lights, and it lights up. That's going to be for the 2 work lights in the back. So now when I'm driving down trails, I can flip on light bar. The front light will come on, and it'll light up my path. And then when I get to a spot and I need to load up some wood, I can flip on my work lights, and it'll light up the back bed area. And I can use that for working. And it's like they're 2 separate ones, so I can angle one down, maybe one out, kind of play around with them a bit. They're pretty neat though. Actually, for that I was going to make my own mount, but they actually sell where the doors mount onto here. There's 2 little bolts at the high end of the cab. They make these little brackets. They're like $15. You put them in there also with the hinge, and they bend around the back, and then you mount the light right to that. I will do a video on the back lights too, because it'll be pretty interesting to see how I think it's going to be very helpful. So yeah, like I said, this is a cheap upgrade that's just, if you use your UTV for work, or even play, but I mean, especially for work, it's totally worth the investment. And you don't have to spend, hundreds of dollars on these lights. I mean, the other one on my tractor, I use it all the time, and it has not gone out. I expect the same performance with this. I mean, there's not a whole lot that can go on there. They don't draw a lot of power. A little goes a lot with these light bars. I would have actually got a smaller one, but it works pretty good. The only negative, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, there's a tree branch sticking out of my light, right? I mean, you're going to snag a couple more things on the roof, but that's really the only negative. And you got to kind of watch and be a little bit more careful. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. Okay, hopefully you can see this right there. This is the factory bus bar, and you can see this is the orange wire that came from the factory wired into there. Currently, I've got the light wired in there, the LED light. It really does not draw any power, but I'm going to add more lights. You can see that it is fused. I'm going to add more lights, so that's why I want to add that relay in here and have it where it's a switched relay. So I've got that. This is the, right here, the 8-gauge wire coming from the battery. This is the, it's not 8-gauge, but it's a little bit smaller, going to the winch. And this is the winch switch that I got off of eBay. It's the to flip the, I don't really understand the wiring, but it was needed, and I got it. This is a lot of the access wiring. but the switches go inside of there. So what I'm going to do is probably here add that other piece that's going to hold the relay switch to turn on to make everything from this 8-gauge wire run with the ignition on only. That way, you know, somebody else borrows this, they're not going to leave stuff on and kill my battery, because the factory battery is horrible. My lawnmower battery that I got is better, but it's still a lawnmower battery, so it's not perfect. So, and this is a close-up. Like I said, from the factory, this wire was there. This is key ignition on. This is always hot, and this is ground to the battery. You could ground it to the frame. I just ground it to the battery. So, but now I'm gonna actually, this is gonna switch to heavy gauge, 8-gauge with keyed ignition power eventually. That's gonna be one of my future upgrades, because I don't like having my lights wired up to this little skinny wire long term. I don't trust, you know, I'm gonna end up, you know, one light's fine. Like I said, the light does not draw much. I'm not even sure what the fuse is on here, but it's .25 amp, but I don't. So we know that this wire will withstand 25 amps, but yeah, I still want to upgrade it. I don't like running stuff off little skinny wires. They're LEDs, so I mean, it's nothing. I wouldn't run like my heater or something like that, or my winch off of this little skinny wire. I mean, it may work, but I wouldn't do it. So I plan on upgrading this sooner than later. Some of this wiring, I want to clean it up a bit. This is the light bar wire. I just ran it up alongside, you know, the windshield. So. Okay, here's some just ambient light. I'm actually by my barn, so camera's having a hard time focus, so I'm sorry about that. But this is just some ambient light from the barn. I'm going to do headlights. That is headlights only. That's the Polaris Ranger stock headlights. And then this is the cheapo light bar. And then that is the light bar. Back to the stock headlights. And then no lights.